All right. Well, welcome back. So, as we mentioned earlier, we are currently. Are we good, guys? Okay, good. So, as we always mentioned, we have special guests today. So, Sean and Scott. Well, obviously, how you guys doing?
Great.
So, thank you for being here. So today we started a bit talking about the subject today, but right before getting to it, I want to know. Well, we have here the rookie-ish, and the experienced one, the veteran. How does that team work out? How do you guys started this whole journey?
Well, my journey began almost 22 years ago.
Yeah.
As a young kid, pretty fresh out of university, had no idea what I wanted to do. And my mother had been a successful real estate broker for probably 10 years before I joined. And she was at the point where she was growing and she was extremely busy and she was looking for some help. And the sort of stars aligned, I guess, if you will. And I decided to take the real estate course with my father at that time, who was
Okay.
also going to join the business and help. And the rest is history, as they say. I joined my mom as a partner. Sadly, my father developed Alzheimer's shortly thereafter, so he didn't join the business.
Okay.
But my mom and I had a very successful partnership for a number of years, and then the team grew again. It's just sort of organically, nothing by design. My sister then reached out and said she wanted to become a real estate broker, so she took the course, joined the team, and then we had a team. We went from partnership to a team.
Amazing.
Then my younger brother joined, and we did that for a number of years. And it was pretty wild. It was for lack of a better term, we were a little bit of a chaos agent team.
Okay.
We didn't really have systems in place at that time. We didn't design this business and scale it.
It was kind of organic.
It was an organic growth, and we were just trying to learning as we went. And back then, in those days, there weren't a lot of real estate teams, so there weren't a lot of places to learn about, some of the best practices for a team. And my mother and I were not really experienced in growing a business. So we got to the point where we grew and grew and grew, and then we were, basically four owners, four partners in that business, and eventually we sort of realized that we wanted to go in different directions.
Right.
I had a different vision from where I wanted to take my career from the rest of the family at that time. So a few years ago, my wife had joined the business, so she was working on the team with us. And we made the very difficult decision to part ways with the rest of the family and started our own small little team, the
Right.
Windsor Group. And shortly thereafter, Scott and I had been talking about real estate for years. I'd been trying to recruit him for at least a decade. And
Because you're kind of the outsider-ish. Because
I was watching all this going on as the oldest sibling, and I'd come from a marketing and sales background. I'd worked in high tech during the .com bubble around 2000 there, and went through a few layoffs during that period and upheaval. And it was after that point I decided, what, I think there's a need for the type of marketing consulting that I felt was lacking in the market at that time, and I decided to go out on my own and become a consultant at age 30, which was kind of ridiculous. A lot of people told me, you can't do that, you don't know anything. And but I managed to make a go of it, and ran my own marketing sales consulting company for 15-16 years. And along the way, like Sean was saying, he started coming to me, and we started having a lot more discussions about how do you systematize this business, how do you grow it to the next level. And I liked how he was thinking, and he obviously sort of liked some of the ideas that I was proposing at that time. And he said, I think you should get your license and come and join us. We could really knock the socks off this.
Because you guys are brothers. How do you feel that your relationship kind of evolved by being in business together?
Yeah, definitely. I think I could speak for myself, at least, to say that we've become much closer.
Yeah.
Since working together, I think we really feed off each other. I think the energy and the sort of excitement that we generate for not only us but the rest of the team is really cool. It's nice to work with family in that regard. That there's always someone that you can really inherently trust and It's there to look after your clients when you're away and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's been really, really good for our relationship, and it's been a lot of fun. I had a blast at it. And then got my daughter on the team as well. So it's a real family affair once again.
Yeah, I
That's
would say the same thing.
Yeah, I have a question. How does his experience and his background change the dynamic of the way you were doing business previously to now how you're doing it now?
Great question. Well, back in those days, I was a little disillusioned with real estate. I was burning out. I was very reactive. I didn't have a plan in place. So by bringing Scott on and some of his advice, we sort of looked at how can we systematize things. So how can we separate sales and admin? I consider myself a pretty good salesperson. I'm an awful admin. I used to try and do all my own paperwork. I was trying to do it all. And all of us on the team at that time, the old team, we're all doing our own everything. We were doing our own sales, our own admin. We were co-marketing, but I realized this is just not sustainable. I was getting exhausted. I was working 7 days a week in evenings. And I was at the point where I almost left the business at one point.
Oh, really?
So I was just burned out. I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. It's too much. And so by this, in discussions with Scott about how to build a business rather than have a job, and then at the same time, I was fortunate enough to sort of get into some of these really amazing mastermind groups that Royal LePage has across the country, the Chairman's Club groups, and started to feed off, and I hired a coach. And from there, it was just a slow progression. I'm not a very quick learner, so it took me a long time to figure out all these sort of
22
things.
years?
22 years to put the pieces together, and I'm still learning every day. But it was figuring out how to run it as a business,
right? Not
as a job. Be a business owner. Think like a business owner. How to be different in our marketing. That's where Scott's real that was his magic power, was how to market and be and differentiate ourselves from our competitors. So that was definitely a huge help in having Scott's experience there.
So you had to hire a coach. Did the coach really give you something that you thought you were missing, or?
Yeah, the coach sort of opened me up. I mean, the coach was great because he ran a very successful real estate team in Ottawa, a huge team. He had been where I wanted to go. So he sort of was able to give me a little bit of a roadmap of, here are the things you need to put in place in order to get from $1 million to $3 million, or from 2 million to 4 million. These are the kind of things you need in terms of admin, in terms of, financial planning. That's a huge one. It's something that I didn't have experience in. And he walked me through a lot of these steps and sort of gave me a little bit of a roadmap as to how, you wanted to start to reorganize the business.
So you talked about financial planning. We talked about building a business, but you guys wanted to talk about retirement.
Yeah.
How and I want to ask, how do you, as entrepreneurs, how do you think about retirement? I feel it's like two different worlds. When you're an employee, the first thing you want is to finally retire. But as an entrepreneur, do you want to retire? Do you want to stop?
Well, I
think you actually want to stop.
I think as an entrepreneur, I don't think you ever really truly, quote unquote, retire. And again, what's the definition of retirement?
Right.
I mean, do you cease all activity and you're on the golf course? I think personally,
everybody thinks about the golf course when they talk about retirement.
Well, personally, I don't think I would ever fully, until I'm not physically able or mentally able to be involved in what I love, which is real estate in some capacity. But I think it's more what I like to call succession planning. So it's looking ahead, saying, okay, in my case, I'm now almost 47 years old. I don't necessarily want to be doing the things that I'm doing now in 20 years. I want to start to think about how my role in the business is going to change. And I think that's something that a lot of older real estate professionals have missed the boat on. I know through COVID, a lot of older brokers left the business. I think the way that the business has evolved with technology, a lot of the older solo realtors maybe are finding this market really, really difficult.
Right.
And I think it's a shame that you've built a fantastic business for 20, 30, 40 years. You've got this amazing database, these clients that are calling you as their real estate professional, to this one day just say, I'm going to hang it up and the whole thing is gone, and you don't have a plan
Yes.
to essentially, what are you going to do with that database? There's
That's-
value in that database.
Yes.
So by having a succession plan, and I started to think about this and looking at my own mother, who's at that stage now where she's easing out of sales, but likes to be involved.
Mhm.
And what's the succession plan, right? So I think there's a plan. And if you put a plan in place early enough before you're a senior, you start to think about these things and say, you know, if I want to ease out of the business, even if I'm a solo realtor and I have a great database, maybe the plan is in sort of talking to realtors and other people. And I read a great book, which I can share with the audience.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
called
go
Succession Planning for Real Estate. It's amazing. I recommend everyone to pick
Let's
that
make
one
sure
up.
we write it down in the notes.
Yeah, it's written by a husband and wife team in the U.S. with Remax. They wrote this book about succession planning, and essentially they're a young team and they have absorbed the database of older real estate professionals. And what they've done is gone through a plan where you bring the soon to be retired broker onto the team.
Right.
And you then have a plan in place where the new team is introduced to the older retirees, soon to be retired database, whether it's through client events. And then there's a referral system in place. So all the business that comes from that database goes to the young team. The young team runs with that, obviously nurtures that database. And there you've got recurring revenue right through your retirement.
How early do you think you have to get into that process, that thinking of, you know, getting a plan set up?
I think you should start as soon as possible. I mean, it's never too late to start, but it's never too early to start either, right? You want to start thinking about that because you mentioned, you know, what is retirement? What does that mean? It's different for everybody.
It's different for everyone.
Right? I think ultimately what it means is freedom. It's the freedom to do what you want when you want. And as Sean said, you know, he enjoys many parts of real estate and may not enjoy certain other aspects of it that he may want to scale down as he gets older, but still maintain things that he enjoys. And to do that, you know, if you're a solo broker on your own, it's extremely difficult.
Of course.
Whereas if you leverage the contacts and the network that you've built up over those years, and then use it, you know, partner with a team or another broker to be able to leverage the value of that network, that's, I think, the key that we should start thinking about.
Yeah, I think all of us that have developed a database over the years would hate to see that database, hate to see those clients not be properly serviced, right? They've been leaning on you for advice and help over the years. So it would be great to have somebody to say, hey, this person here works just the way I do. They're going to take care of you as well as I did. And when you need help, I'm passing the torch along. So I think it's just something that we need to start thinking about. And in terms of putting the actual plan in place of who you're going to use as as that succession plan, I think that's probably something you'll do a little bit later as you get, you know, maybe 5 years out.
Right.
From wanting to ease out of the business. And some people just decide, like, I'm done. It's been 35 years. I don't want to see another client. I want to. So, you know, if you have a couple of years where you've partnered with a young team and then hand off the reins and you can take off to Florida and go play golf. Hey, some people, that might be great for some people. Some people might have been waiting for that. So I think there's different ways to look at it.
Right.
Different ways to compensate someone that's easing out of the business. But I think it's just something that, you know.
Would you say in terms of when you actually get out of the business, do you have to have a certain amount of management to say that you got to manage the database to make sure that the clients that you have or that you build, they don't just take and do deals without you finding out that those deals are being done?
100%. I think one of the most important parts, and that's touched on as a chapter in the book on that's really helpful, is you want to make sure that if you're going to be handing your database off, how is that database being managed? How are those clients being nurtured as you've done for 20 years? Staying in touch with them, having client events, making sure that the database isn't just forgotten.
But how do you make sure of that?
Well, if you put a plan in place where there's a monetary arrangement, right, and the team that's going to be taking your database over is going to be generating income off that database, and there's certain criteria that you want to hit.
Because it's a form of acquiring a business, just like I used to advise my clients who are small business owners, right? Well, the business isn't worth much if you're not there. a lot of business owners were like that. They were the ones, they were the owners, they were the top salespeople in the company. And as soon as they got hit by a bus tomorrow,
There's no more
it's
business.
over. So how do you create this system in your business where you don't need to be the one dealing with clients every day, where the business runs without you? Well, we can have that same philosophy and approach in real estate to be able to make sure that whoever's dealing with your clients is dealing with them the same way you would, giving the
That's
same level of service and expertise. And that's where, as Sean said, it makes sense.
Systems.
It makes sense to really pre-qualify who you're going to partner with well in advance to make sure there's a good fit.
Yeah, and rather than just sort of handing it off and walking away, I like the idea of doing it together for a couple of years.
Right.
And that way the clients get to know both, so the client doesn't feel like they've been handed off. They really feel like there's a smooth transition there.
And for younger brokers, it's just as valuable because just the same way I'm the rookie, right? I'm learning by osmosis just by being out and watching how Sean's working. So my learning curve was dramatically shortened, right? Coming into, I was a rookie in real estate. I had a lot of other experience that really helped me in this business, but being able to take a veteran experienced broker and a younger broker and put it together, your learning curve is gonna skyrocket.
All right, we're gonna go to the our Crown project. So Mellor Group is in new construction, as we mentioned, officially in the last few weeks. So please listen to our next video, and we'll get back to you in a few seconds. So I have a question for you guys. How you talked about the young broker. How does the young broker approach a team, or more veteran team, and to kind of create that relationship to eventually bring value to the table, but also build and acquire that business?
Well, I think there's a few different approaches. There's the sort of mentor system where a young broker would come in and work with a more seasoned broker in a mentor position. And generally some of these setups where the junior broker will do a lot of the grunt work, of course, but in return, they're learning a ton from an experienced broker. And there's generally some sort of a commission split that they work out. And then there's joining a traditional team. Whereas you would come in and you'd want to seek out a team that you feel is working, obviously with integrity, is successful, is working in a market that you have your eye on perhaps, and you realize there's going to be a ton of value, as Scott said, in that learning curve. Coming into an experienced team, I know we've got Mark on our team who joined this year. Relatively, he's got a year of experience before on his own.
Yes.
I think his learning curve has been fantastic. And so there's a lot of time in vetting who you want and figuring out what it is you're looking for. Are you looking for just a mentor for some time, or do you like the idea of working in a team environment? I think that's very different. I think working in a team environment, a lot of people gravitate to that. They like the idea of having teammates, not doing it all on their own.
Yeah.
A couple of different approaches there.
We have a question here from Patricia that's asked, do you think you need to be wealthy to have a happy retirement?
I think you have to be wealthy in terms of your personal relationships. I think you have to have a good family or friends that you want to have. A social network is very important. In terms of money, certainly, I think if you want to maintain the same type of lifestyle that you have now, it's going to require income, but that's all relative. Some people are comfortable to move down to South America and live on the beach and not spend very much money. But I think generally speaking, if you want to retire and live here in Montreal or in any of the big cities in Canada, yeah, you certainly need to be cognizant of building a retirement nest egg for sure.
What about you?
I would agree 100% with that. It's all relative, and it's what you think your retirement needs to look like, and then making sure you've planned appropriately to be able to fund that retirement.
Right.
And I think we need to advise people that you need an expert to help you with this. I've got a great financial advisor who I was late, early in my career. I spent everything I made and I wasn't very good at saving.
Okay.
And at, sort of 30 years old, sitting down with him going, okay, what do you want your retirement to look like? When do you want to retire? And what is your lifestyle like now? And he's like, how much do you think you need to retire? And I throw out a number and he goes, well, you need about 3 times that amount, right? So when you start to really break it down, what the cost of retirement is, it can be a bit of an eye opener. So the advice is save a lot
and paying
save
yourself
early.
first.
Pay yourself first.
And paying yourself first, I think that's a good one, because we often kind of forget or understand that
Key concept.
finance,
Well, especially in our industry where it's cyclical, right? It comes and goes. It's not like a steady paycheck. So
Exactly. So we have a few comments here in there on Instagram. We have Jess Tremblay that says very inspiring. Sean, so I think she was related to the comments earlier that you were making. We have Sam, one of our newest. She's one of our members and becoming a broker. You don't stop. Maybe just slow down. Succession plan for real estate succession plan for real estate agents. So a bit like you guys are mentioning.
Absolutely.
Steve Tacker says that Killer Brody's looking good, sounding good.
Thanks, Steve.
So do we have other questions? Go ahead,
Actually, I
Mike.
have a question. It's a little bit off topic, but it's pertaining to what you said earlier about working in teams. I know that it's controversial because a lot of people don't want to work in teams because they think that it'll dilute either what they're supposed to do, or once they decide to leave the team, they've got to start over.
Mhm.
What is your aspect on that, working in teams?
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I think the age of the solo real estate broker is going the way of the dodo bird.
Oh, really?
I do not think in 10 years, less, 5 years. In fact, in our market, I think it's extremely difficult for a solo real estate broker to compete at a high level with the power that a real estate team brings to the table these days. I think you cannot be in 5 places at once. You cannot be an expert marketer, admin, salesperson. I think the teams are here. They're here to stay. I think it's the future of real estate. I think that fear, I think it's a legitimate fear if you join the wrong team.
Mm.
I think there has to be a culture fit. I think you need to be coming from a place of wanting to learn, and not all teams are created equal. Some real estate teams, you're totally right. You get in there and you don't own any of your clients, and if you leave the team, you're back to square one on your own. But other teams, I think some of the teams that are doing it very well and have very high and long retention for their team members are doing things really, really well. They're empowering their team members to develop their own personality within the team. Like, for example, in our team, all the brokers have their name on the sign. It's not just Sean Brody. You notice the team is not just me. We purposely did it that way. We want to empower everybody on the team to grow their own business. And by working together in synergy and having the amount of sales volume that we can do, where we can afford to hire admin and give this fantastic client experience, I just don't see very many solo real estate brokers being able to compete, particularly going in for a listing in this competitive market right now. What we can deliver in terms of our offering as a team, I think it's something that young brokers should definitely look at, and gaining that experience is totally invaluable.
But it makes it harder to scale, though. I mean, like, if you're not in a team, because if you think about it, if you're going to do a visit on the weekend, how many clients can you have? Can you actually handle at the same time?
Absolutely. I mean, you've got to do, in my opinion, you've got to do it one of 2 ways. You got to go in as a solo realtor and grind your way to build your own team,
Okay.
from the ground up. And that requires significant amount of capital, time, effort. It can be done. I mean, we've done it. We've built the team, but there's a very, as Scott said, the learning curve and the mistakes that are made when you're trying to do it on your own, versus joining a team where the systems are there and there's an established market and a client base. I think there's huge power in that.
And just speaking from experience, being on my own for 15 years as my own, consulting firm where I had outsourced providers, but not, employees. That's the one thing that I found I was lacking, was that team environment, somebody to bounce ideas off of, somebody to give a different perspective on things. And there's huge power in that. Everybody brings different skills to the table, and being able to leverage that is huge.
But a lot of entrepreneurs or young brokers, they go into real estate or any type of entrepreneurship journey because they want to feel that they have their own business, or they want to do their own thing and be their own boss, to manage their own schedule, manage the whole thing. Do you feel that when you join a team, you might not get as you kind of have that you come back to an employee mentality?
No, I think it
to
depends
a certain
on the
extent.
I think it really depends on the team. I think some teams do run it exactly that way, top-down mentality, old school, like I'm the boss, everyone works for me. And I think there are some teams that are very collaborative and are very much encouraging their team members to be just as successful, if not more successful. Like for me, I get off on just watching these guys make sales and do well and grow and do better and better every year. And so I think, yes, you can build it. If you're a young entrepreneur and you're a go-getter, you can build it from the ground up. I think that it can be done, but it's extremely difficult.
And you can build a business within a business. Like
true.
The term, entrepreneur, not necessarily, you don't have to be on your own to be an entrepreneur. You can be an entrepreneur working in a company. You've got, entrepreneurs, that bring that same mindset, but you have to have that culture and philosophy within the company where they're allowing people to create, to be innovative,
right,
to bring new ideas to the table. And if you're working in a team environment like that, it's super powerful.
Yeah. We have here a comment from Sam again on Instagram that says, I believe you just settle a lot of new brokers' anxiety about teams.
Anxiety?
Yeah.
Settle their anxiety?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you just, the teams I think get a bad rap because, as I said, some teams are they're not all created equal. But I think it would be foolish to ignore the fact that it might be the right fit for somebody, not for everybody. But to say that I don't want to join a team because I'm going to be an employee, I think it depends on the team, very much so.
You mentioned earlier you were a solopreneur for the longest time. Now joining your brother in a journey that there was a good fit. Wasn't there a bit of a challenge also for you to go from 15 years by myself, deciding everything, and from becoming a partner with a brother?
Absolutely. That was part of the learning curve, part of the growth, that I had to, realize that I was a rookie, right?
Yeah.
I was a white belt, and that mentality, just like in martial arts, you're always a white belt because either you're going to be humble in life or life is going to humble you, right? You're going to be humbled by it. And I think having that mentality really helps. I'm not an expert. I've got experience, but I'm constantly learning, growing, and acquiring new information every day. So if I can partner with somebody, I'm just going to be that much more effective in everything I do. So that's the way I looked at it.
I think that a really good answer. I mean, I can't really say anything else, but
Mike is happy.
It's a very good answer.
Mike is happy. Well,
and if you were to look at Scott's numbers for his first year in the business, you would agree as well. He did extremely, extremely well as a salesperson.
That's great.
Sold a lot of real estate. So
that's amazing.
Proof's in the pudding there.
Well,
but again,
he was pretty smart, so that helps.
But again, it would not. I can almost guarantee that never would have happened if I'd been on my own.
On your own?
No way. Absolutely no way. The amount of times, Sean jokes about it. You used to answer the phone, real estate hotline, it was like, Sean, what about this? And then he got wise from a manager perspective, and he started challenging me and saying, no, I'm not going to give you the answers. You need to come to me with what would you do in that situation?
Bounce it off me.
And I'll just give you my perspective on what I think.
Yeah.
And that was huge, because that really helped me think through things on my own as an inexperienced broker, as a rookie, and then come to him saying, well, here's what I was thinking. And he would say, well, did you think about this? What about this angle? Yes, you're right. I didn't think about that. And then when you're going through it yourself and you're actually experiencing these things, I mean, everyone knows, you learn about it in the textbook, you're doing it at the real estate classroom, you forget it a month after you've done. And then when you get into it in a real life situation, then you remember it for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to stick.
A couple of weeks ago, we talked about culture, company culture, and here we have Sam. And I know you guys are also very strong on company culture. Sam on Instagram says, finding a team that meshes well with your culture, your identity. How do you guys manage to build or start that culture within your team? Yes, within your company, but also within your team, and wanted to grow it.
It started with us as a team, a brand new team, sitting down and saying, what do we want to be? What's our purpose? Who do we serve? What are our values? What are our core values? Is it profit, or is it treating people with integrity? And are we playing the long game, or are we playing the transactional game? And all those answers became very clear. We are playing the long game. We are not transactional brokers. We are looking to build lifelong relationships with clients. And to this day, 70% of our business is repeat and referral because of sticking to those principles. And then internally, the culture within the team is, everybody is encouraged to come with ideas, as Scott said. This is not, team meeting is not team leaders sitting there and telling everybody what to do. It's go around the table and what do you think? What are your ideas? Has anybody got an idea of how we can streamline this process? Did you have a problem with a file last week? Let's all talk about how we can solve it. It's this collaborative culture where nobody is the boss. We are working collaboratively as a team. Some of us have more experience than others, and we're solving problems together. And she's 100% right. Finding the culture fit, I think, in any business is absolutely imperative.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that from top to bottom, treating people equally and giving them a voice helps you a lot. Because sometimes people are at the bottom and they don't necessarily have a voice, and they're either intimidated or they're afraid to say something. And the fact that you can hear what would make their life easier makes your job a lot easier.
Absolutely.
Also, that's where the best ideas come from.
Yeah.
Is when as soon as you think you're smart, you're done, because you're afraid to ask questions for fear of looking stupid.
Yeah.
The ones who don't know ask stupid questions, which actually ends up resulting in breakthrough ideas.
Yeah.
Even like our performance reviews that we do every quarter, they're 360. So we're reviewing the team member, but they're also going to be reviewing Scott, Kim, and I as managers. So is there anything we can do better as managers? What are you missing? Is there anything that we can help you with to help you grow and do better? So it's that type of culture that we wanted to create from day one, and I think that's been a huge part of our success.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, fellas, thank you so much for being part of this. It was very interesting to get to know your business culture, and I'm sure our audience had a lot of fun of learning about your business. Where we can find you guys? You guys on all social media platforms?
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn.
Fantastic.
And here in the Elite office every day.
They are
all the time.
every day. So we'll make sure to put all your contact information within if ever you guys are in the West Island area. The Brodies are always looking to grow as admin. Anything, reach out. We'll definitely put you in contact.
Super.
Thanks
for
very much.
having us
Thanks
on,
for having
guys.
us.
Yeah.
And we'll see you all